and gentlemen, welcome to the American Masterminds Podcast. I'm your host tonight, Topher Sheeler. I am so excited to hear this story. We've got a very special night planned for you here today. We've got the one and only Trevor Lee with us, who just got back from the election night party at Mar-a-Lago. I can't wait to hear this story. But first, let's get a quick word from our sponsor, Innoviv.
Hi, I'm Aiden at Innoviv. Are you tired of worrying about what's in your water? Innoviv has the solution. From our whole house water purification systems to our fast-filling reverse osmosis units, we can give your family clean, safe water at every tap. Text us now to schedule your consultation and experience water the way it should be, pure.
So Trevor, walk me through this. How on earth did you get to Mar-a-Lago?
Well, it's Mar-a-Lago.
Mar-a-Lago. My apologies.
So when Donald Trump did his fundraiser here in Utah, I helped raise and bundle quite a bit of money for him when he was here. And so if you raise over a certain threshold, you're invited out to West Palm Beach for the election night.
No kidding. So walk me through this. So did you get was it a private plane? Obviously, this had to be a 5-star event all the way through.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, private plane. Went out with a few others from Utah and got in around 4 o'clock Eastern time. Election was that night. Didn't get to bed till 4:30 a.m. the next day. Flew back at like 10 a.m. our time.
No kidding. Okay, so when you get there, who's the first person you meet? What's the agenda?
Well, one of the things that I thought was interesting is in Palm Beach, it's not a big airport, but private planes stacked everywhere, right? But as you fly in, the first planes you do see is Trump's and JD Vance's that he had rented out for the campaign.
Trump Force One for those that aren't listening.
Yeah. The Trump plane, and then as you kept going in, you just see crowds of just private planes stacked everywhere. You could see them because all the donors, everyone was in town for this night. And you had to, have raised a significant amount of money to be able to get invited. And then there was a limited amount of other tickets that they had for other people too, because you had Mar-a-Lago and then you had the convention center where he spoke and did that. And so there was VIP and then there was just general admission and sold out both of them.
No kidding. So where were you at in all of this? Were you VIP?
Yep, VIP. So we're hanging out. You have, anyone who's been significant on the trail was there, and people were all over the place all night, coming and going just as they felt they wanted to. And it was just fun, just with some significant people in the campaign.
So you get there. Okay. So you get there at 4 o'clock. What time did you actually get to the Mar-a-Lago
6
premise?
o'clock.
About 6 o'clock?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So you get there. What's the temperature of the what's the atmosphere like?
We're going to win.
Really?
Yeah.
Was there ever a point?
I mean, Elon Musk even had an app he created where he analyzed the data and knew before everyone else did.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So he was like, we've got this.
No kidding. So when did Elon show up to the party?
Elon was there. He probably got in around like 8 o'clock.
How does Elon enter the room?
With his son on his back.
That's so freaking. So how close? I gotta ask because I'm vicariously living through you at this point. Okay. Mm-hmm. So how close were you to Elon?
Oh, like as close as we are right now. But what's crazy is his security is more intense than Trump's.
Really?
Yeah.
Walk me through that.
So Trump has Secret Service, and they're good. They're considered good. But Elon has hired his own security, who is like the best of the best. It's not like spread out how Secret Service is now, because they cover all the past presidents and they're big and their bureaucracy and they can have DEI hires and all that. But not Elon. He's just going to get some big A guys who are just all around him at all times. I mean, you stick a hand out, you're dead. So
no kidding. So can you tell a difference between the two of them?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Who trumps who? If they're all standing there, who stands in front? Whose security detail takes precedence?
Definitely Elon's.
Really?
Yeah, they're bigger. They're all just massive, scary dudes. Like who they are.
It's so cool. And Elon's a pretty tall dude too, isn't he?
Yeah, he's a good height. So is Trump, right? I mean, they're both pretty tall guys, but I would say that Elon is like when you can handpick everyone you want, right? You're going to go get the best in the world. You could even, if there's anyone who's in Secret Service who's good, not only would you pay them more, you could pull them off.
Yeah, I guess it's true. Elon really doesn't have a limit on spending for his security, does he?
You're the richest man in the world. You get the best.
That's so cool. So he has this app, right, that was tracking it. Mm-hmm. Is this something that he shared with everybody, or did he have it up on a big screen?
It was widely known with the campaign. Everyone knew about it. I mean, it was just, hey guys, I did something here. Check this out, and everyone's watching it. So and then here's the big thing too. So Ken Paxton, Attorney General of Texas, he deployed at least around his state his own security poll watchers to monitor their elections. Around 500 different lawyers and people to monitor. Is it ironic that Texas went the most red it's ever been?
Well, I think that was the case through the whole country. The only states that Kamala
not necessarily we did well. We did well across. Don't get me wrong, but Texas as a state is a red state. But you've been hearing for a long time, it's trending blue, it's trending blue, it's trending blue. In fact, Ted Cruz, I can't remember the name of the gentleman running against him, former NFL player. That was supposed to be a close race. Well, Ted Cruz had the biggest win he's ever had running for senator. Well outspent in money. Dems put a lot into that, but the state in general just went more red than it has ever. So the reason I'm saying that is Ken had that all set up. He's like, we're good in Texas. The RNC then deployed their own poll watchers across the country. But when he won some of these swing states, they were done. They went home. And that's where we lost some of those Senate races in Michigan, Wisconsin, Nevada, Arizona. No one's watching them anymore. And then you had a dump of ballots at the end of the night.
What was there was a lot of trends and whatnot that were happening because of this. And if they were to go to full voter ID and where the country was at, all the states that had voter ID, Trump won by a landslide.
That's right. Any state that did not have voter ID went to Kamala.
Right.
Just that simple. The other thing is, and that's just voter ID, right? That's one security gate you have. But the big one is where you have mass mail-in votes, right? Okay. So you can ballot harvest. If you're on the left, you can send it to just random households, and then you get so many ballots back. No chain of custody. No one, you have no clue where it actually came from. Those are the states where we lost a lot of those Senate races, which is unfortunate.
Well, we still retain the House, and we have everything, but barely.
We should have won at least 4 more Senate seats. And we did win a lot. We did win 4, but we should have won 4 more. And then there's some fishy stuff like in Arizona. Kerry Lake got more votes than Kamala Harris did.
Are you serious?
But Gallego came out of nowhere with 130,000 votes that he got, that Trump also got, that didn't go to Kerry Lake. And if you asked anyone in Arizona, did you vote for Trump and Gallego? You can't find anyone.
Really?
You can't find anyone who voted. So they need to figure out their crap down there. There's something going on in Arizona.
I just don't know why this is so hard. I mean, I know Elon's made comments about it. Why can you not have this on a blockchain app on your phone that's your voting app for all sorts of stuff?
Well, we might go there at some point. I think obviously the safest method is paper ballots with a trail that you can hand count with accountability. You have to show ID. That's what we should go to. It's easy. It's simple. Florida counts all their votes in one night. It's just incredible. There are 3 hours, 20 million people comes in, no problem. And then the rest of the country, all on the East Coast, who closed at the same time as their polls, are just can take days.
Yeah.
Clearly Florida's doing something correct that no one else is over there. Or if they are doing it, they're not doing it like Florida with efficiency. And it comes down to just keep it simple, right?
Well, it wasn't what was that? Let's see. It would have been even Obama's first term. Computers everybody gets trapped in this, that how long technology's been around. We're all accustomed that our phone's in our pocket and it's always been there, right? But it actually wasn't that long ago. We didn't have this either.
No. In fact, if you remember the Bush recount against, I think was it
Gore?
It was Gore, yeah. The reason why they were able to make it a sound argument at the end of all those recounts is they had something to recount, right? You couldn't just say, oh, here's what's showing up on the computer screen, but they could literally go in there and hand recount each of those certain areas of the race. And so it was, okay, we've done this twice now. Keeps coming out with Bush as the winner. But nowadays they don't do that. They just say, well, look what the computer screen says.
Right.
Good.
Right.
That's a problem.
You
got to be careful. Anything that's typically computerized can be hacked.
Well, generally, it also doesn't help if the Ethernet cords are running to these machines that shouldn't have Ethernet cords. Just saying, whatever.
Yeah, shouldn't be hooked up to Wi-Fi.
Yeah, who knew? Whatever. Okay, all right, hold on. Before we go back into future stuff, okay, let's go back. You gotta give me something here. You got to be at the actual party of the year. You're in Mar-a-Lago. Elon's walking in. Dana White's there. Walk us through the whole night. Who did you talk to? What happened?
Yeah, what's interesting is we actually spent more of the night at the convention center in Mar-a-Lago. You eat your food, you get up, and then you wanted to head over to the convention center. A lot of those guys, the big players, you couldn't get close to, right? Like they're just kind of doing their thing. So I spent most of my time talking to campaign staff, Kash Patel, Stephen Miller, some of the people who I knew who were there. And so we hang out with them. We're asking them questions. We're just kind of watching as, the polls are about to close. The sentiment in the air was good. We knew we were going to win, but it was like, just in case, like,
for the same reason that the rest of America was up till 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, trying not to fall asleep
until it's called. Yeah. So that's just what most of the discussions and everything were around. All the work was put in before that night. The multiple campaign rallies, the stops, the efficiency with funding. And the reason I say that is, Trump raised about $330 million. It's not including PAC money, but that's just, the individual donations. Kamala raised around $1.1 billion. But Trump spent $10 million for staff. Kamala spent $538 million for her staff.
Oh, whoa! Are you serious?
Like some money laundering going on here, and a lot of these celebrities she paid significant sums of money to come in and do concerts and
or lack thereof,
twerk or whatever for the audience. So there was a big efficiency factor that we saw, and so a lot of the conversation goes around. Was enough done in these states to make it happen? And I think there was. Like in Utah, we were told, well, you're not getting campaign signs. If you want them, you got to buy them and get them to yourself. But we're focusing all of our time and energy on these swing states. We want them all.
Yeah.
So it worked, right? And when you're outspent 3-1, like you got to do that. And so I think the strategy was brilliant. It worked. And on top of that, then to be concerned about the still is you have an army of lawyers and poll watchers, not like as significant as Ken Paxton did in Texas, but to the RNC's best abilities around the country to make sure, like, hey, we need to see the counting. We need to watch these come in, come out. No secret briefcases this time.
Well, they caught him. For us watching, there was a convoy of, it was in Pennsylvania. And someone, I don't know if this is true or not, but someone said Trump is making the call, like calling the police. There it is. They've got it on camera. Go get them. Yeah,
and there was some significant court cases that were upheld the day of and the day before, which were important to say, hey, no, like you have to allow these people there. And I think the left knew that the RNC was ready to sue. They were watching. We were much more prepared this time than last time. I mean, it wasn't perfect, but the preparedness level was such that they couldn't find 10 million new votes.
Yeah.
Which they were short from last time. In fact, if it were me, just based on the numbers we had, there needs to be a committee set aside to go and investigate the 2020 election now and hold people accountable.
I agree with that, because if you look at the chart, it's the one chart that's got 2 years, 2 elections. Everything's about the same, fluctuates a little bit. And then 2020 is through the roof.
Well, and 2020 was unique, right? Like people were home.
Right.
But there was a lot of things that were illegal, like just suspending certain rules for an election to send everyone a ballot in certain states was wrong. And here's my thing is people say, oh, well, with COVID, people were home, so you're going to have more votes. Okay, well, let's take a step back. Is it going to be, 10 million less votes? That's a lot. And here's the other big one. And is it only in specific city swing states?
Yeah, kind of weird.
Only Detroit, only Philadelphia, only Milwaukee, only Phoenix, Arizona, only Las Vegas, like only those states people just randomly this time decided not to vote in record numbers that we've never seen.
Dude, I really wish we could get an actual vote count. Like if voter ID, everything was 100% verified, I would love to know where the country actually was at.
Yeah. And the biggest ones that skewed are New York and California,
of course,
which Trump did unprecedented numbers against the fraud. So like in California, you don't need a show ID to vote. You could show up at a polling location, you vote, you can go to another polling location and you can vote again because they don't check ID.
Well, yeah, they made it illegal, like for them to even ask about having an ID, right?
That's right.
Wow.
Seems crazy.
It does. And if you look at the map, like the blue to red ratios of California, it was, they really honed in on the cities. It was also weird that they called California. Now, I think this was a TV trick, okay? Kamala was losing so bad that if they flipped Pennsylvania or Georgia, everybody would have shut it off. We're going home. But they waited to flip California. The second the poll opened, they called California for Kamala.
Right.
But I think it was a TV ploy, to be completely honest with you.
That's what they did last time, right? Calling Arizona, like, well before it closed on Fox. Do you remember that?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So they know what they're doing. It's the psychological, diversion. It's their polling they had 3 days before the election that said, oh, Trump's going to lose Iowa from a very prominent pollster.
They said by 19 points or something like that, too.
It was dumb. It was so absurd. It was only one person. So they lost all credibility.
Right.
They really tried to make it seem like it was going to be close.
It wasn't close on any front whatsoever.
Historic landslide win. Every swing state went to Trump. And I would argue, too, then he almost made some states come into play, like New Jersey, he got close. Virginia was close. New Hampshire was close. Minnesota was pretty close. I mean, you start looking at some of these states, like, man, like Trump, if he had the time and resources, if he wasn't just focused on swing states and had some more money, I think he would have flipped a lot more.
I think if the media was fair in any way, shape, or form and actually reporting on what's going on, this would have been...
The machine's against him for sure, right? It wasn't fair.
Well, clearly. I mean, look what's happened. It's been, a week since the actual election here? A week and a couple days? Just look what's happened. This is what they're afraid of right now, which I'd love to get into, but finish the Mar-a-Lago story.
No. It's just like... It's... just being there with the energy, knowing you're going to win. I think the historic part of the night was Trump's speaking to the people, right? Coming back, everyone headed over to the convention center. And then you get the whole crowds of people there, just, going nuts as they would call states, call this, call that. Like, that's where like the fun was, believe it or not.
It's really cool, man. And he was up for 72 hours?
Oh, yeah.
Before he gave the end of the night speech?
Trump doesn't sleep.
This is so incredible.
He doesn't sleep, man. He is a machine. He's a workhorse. Heck, I think it's what keeps him young, believe it or not, too. The energy that guy has is insurmountable. I mean, even Kamala was doing like one rally a day.
Yeah, and he was doing 3 or 4 in a day.
He was in an insane schedule. I mean, like if you and I just go fly back east, we have the time zone changes. Like we're worn out. It's a lot. That guy does it all day, multiple times a day.
It's just wild. Just absolutely wild. And then, he wakes up, he's making calls in between the rallies.
Meetings before every rally.
Right.
Always having roundtable events. He'll do, photo shoots for donors and those who, want it. And it just never ends. And, now it's like, oh, let's take a big breather. Now it's picking the administration. We go to work.
No, he didn't. There wasn't a day off at all. There wasn't even an hour off.
No.
Like short of saying, wake up, everybody, we'll be at work at 9:00 tomorrow morning.
I think he's just excited he can golf again,
Yeah, well.
Which even then, that's exercise.
Yeah. Well, who knew that, Diet Coke and McDonald's could just absolutely fuel you to the moon.
We're going to make it good again. We're going to take some ingredients, make it healthy. And we're bringing America back to where it should be.
Well, I have to tell you from... because I'm living vicariously through you. I love hearing these stories every time you come back and you get to go do something. But the election was fun. Winning was fun. This past week has been 10 times more fun than all of it combined.
They're melting down more now because they're like, he picked who?
Exactly.
What? And it's like, this is what he campaigned on. What did you think was going to happen?
But it's also the way he's doing it. Just like, hey, we're going to roll out two or three of these a day, just so everybody gets he's had this list, I would assume, for a year.
He's had, and there's certain, positions, Secretary of State stuff that are, a little bigger of a deals than others. And he has multiple, potential candidates, but everyone's known who those potentials were.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Right.
Well, I say that there's been a couple
but like Matt Gaetz was a curveball, which is amazing for Attorney General.
Do you think he's actually going to get
I do.
selected?
I think he'll be fine. And if he doesn't, it's going to, this is Trump's party now.
Yeah. The old Republican Party does seem to be dead.
It's gone.
Yeah.
And they've left. They're not a part of us anymore. So I think that he will get approved just based on, Thune has come in and said, hey, we're going to go on Trump's agenda. Now, I know Cornyn and those guys are going to be unhappy, and you're not going to get all the Republicans on board, but we'll see what happens. It's not on Trump at that point.
No,
it's on them.
Dude, I'm so excited. You've got RFK that he put to the HHS.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, super excited about it. I don't think he'll have any problems getting through the Senate.
You'd hope not. You'd hope not.
But the two, what do you think about Pete Hegseth?
Oh, he's amazing. I mean, he's based. He's, he likes families. He doesn't want women to serve in the military. I mean, there's only 16 countries in the world that do that. We're one of them. I think part of what he is you're bringing an outsider in. You're not just getting some general who plays the politics up the ranks. It's someone's coming in who's fought, been on the ground, served multiple tours, understands what it takes to win, and also this woke mind virus that has infected our military, made us weak. And he's the perfect person to clean it up. Just absolutely perfect.
Well, from the outside looking in, what it actually seems like is Trump has hired him to clean up the generals.
And well, I mean, Trump would do that himself too, but they're already getting ready to pack their bags and leave.
Which is
get out.
Absolutely incredible. Same with the FDA. The FDA came out and were like, if RFK gets nominated to this, we quit. And Elon goes, good.
Makes it easier for us to do. We were going to get fired anyways.
Yeah. That is so great. So great. So where do you think Kash Patel's going to line in?
I don't know. I thought he'd be good for the CIA. FBI would be good. I mean, like Kash needs to do something on that side, because he's also like Gates, where he'd clean up. I mean, he spent his whole career just fighting back against this establishment. So I hope he gets something. He will get something, but we'll see what he ends up getting tagged as.
The current rumor would be that he's going to be the FBI guy.
Yeah, that'd be good. I thought it was going to be CIA, but it's not. It's someone else now. So who knows?
Well, and didn't he make Tulsi ahead of all of them?
She's defense, something in Department of Defense, I think is what it is.
I thought she was in intelligence
or intelligence somewhere. She's one of them. But I will say this though. I like Tulsi, but that one kind of makes me nervous.
You think so?
She just jumped on board, just barely. Let's maybe give it to someone who's been loyal maybe for a lot longer than that. That's my thing. I'm kind of nervous. I mean, some of her beliefs still were very much socialist for a long time. Granted, military, she's better. She's going to be in a good spot there. But I question if she'll actually have a complete shift in her beliefs quickly.
Well, but the thing is that I don't think that there is a shift. There's where Trump is actually living is the everyday American person. Well, the reason he's bringing RFK and Tulsi and if this is all appealing, it's like a middle party.
I think some of them were brought on. I mean, obviously there's concessions, right?
Yeah.
Hey, you're going to stop running. You're going to become an ally, and I will promise you some type of position.
Just don't touch the oil.
Yeah. Right. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, hopefully they're good at their roles that they were picked to do. And a lot of them aren't just in there because there's concessions, but they're actually going to be good at that job.
Yeah.
The Democrats do too, right? Like Pete Buttigieg being in charge of transportation. What on earth qualified that man for that role?
Nothing.
That's right.
The punchline.
But it was
literally
concession.
nothing.
It was to get him to drop out of the presidential race.
Oh.
Right? That's what they do.
That makes sense.
You drop out, I'll pick you for this.
But Tulsi wasn't in the race. It would just been RFK.
Yeah, but she had a decent following with moderates that it's like, you come on board and we'll give you something. Obviously, that's not coming from the campaign because that's illegal. It's coming from someone else. And it's just how it works.
Well, that does make sense. It kind of, you like to, the media machine sells that RFK was on because he's just like Kamala. Well, but they didn't actually talk to him. No, RFK might be a little different.
But and he might. And here's the thing, though. I actually do think RFK for that role is perfect.
Yeah.
Legitimately, that's what I want. And I think his following of people, I don't think Trump did a good job with COVID and how he handled it. And there's a lot of Republicans in similar situations as mine. They're like, well, I'm still going to vote for him, but I'm not happy with what he did. But an RFK would have handled that perfectly. And so I think he's going to be good for that role. Just keep him away from the oil, right?
Yeah. Just we'll handle the economy and money stuff. You go over here. I think it's great. I really do.
And he's very well qualified for that. the status quo clearly is not working for America, whether it's health, whether it's energy, whether it's endless wars. I mean, like, we need outside thinkers to come in, fix the problem. I mean, one of the best things Trump did do in 2016 to 2020 was think outside the box, whether it was the Middle East policy, whether it was stay in Mexico for the border. There were a few massive wins that he had that hadn't been tried before.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm also excited for like his tariffs. Historically, tariffs have not been a good idea, but in the world we play in, you got to bring them to the table somehow. You got to squeeze them. There's going to be a little bit of pain at first, but when you bring them to the table, you're going to end up affecting good policy long term by doing that.
Well,
it's thinking outside the box. It's something we've been told from economists, like, don't do that. It's bad. But you know what? It's not the same game it used to be. It's a different world.
And it is a global economy at this point. And if people are taking advantage of us, we just need to be fair. That's all.
Yeah. And here's the other thing too, is once again, doing the same thing over and over again. It's it's the definition of, crazy and insanity. And that's why it's like, name something that government's been doing for a long time that's working.
Well, quite literally
in anything.
Nothing. That's why he's bringing in all these new fresh faces that are all younger with new ideas. The establishment is quaking in their boots.
And that's my, like, for example, my concern with Tulsi is she's been a part of the war machine.
Okay.
So it's okay. It doesn't mean she can't change it. She's not going to do a good job. But I'm saying that's just where I'm hesitant. She's someone who's fulfilling a role that I would like someone to have come in who has a different way of thinking about it there. Like RFK is different. Matt Gaetz is going to be, a lot of these picks are, I never would have thought about that. That's, I kind of like that. That's going to be spicy, like, what are they going to do?
Well,
I don't want someone who's going to go along and do the same thing. And any part of government, it all needs to be different, from the budget to how we interact with countries, to our drilling, to our health. Our healthcare is a mess. It's run by lobbyists. It's run by big money, big pharma. Like, it all needs to be just completely overhauled.
Have you heard any rumors, speaking of that, RFK, after they announced HHS, he said that there's a rumor that they're going to go after the pharmaceutical big pharma with a RICO case. Have you heard anything on that?
I've heard stuff, but great.
No, it's fantastic.
Great.
Yeah. Go see what happens. Why not?
Yeah. Let's do it.
Take a few lobbyists out with you.
See, and that's the thing too, though, is, a lot of people have branded him as like anti-vax. Well, he's not anti-vax. He just thinks that they need to be held accountable like any other industry. Like, okay, let's say a lot of the vaccines have saved lives and they've worked, but then why aren't they have any accountability to like vaccine injury? Like, why can't they be sued?
I'm pretty sure he mentioned this in his book, okay? Because I think that's where I'm getting it from. If I'm wrong, fact check me later. But I want to say it was 1988 or 86, something like that. The big pharma, the pharmaceutical companies, were responsible for the vaccines and the side effects. And then in one of those years, they said no more. And then it went from the 6 or whatever vaccines that everybody got. Right now, the current schedule is for 74, 76, something like that. Mm-hmm. Which is wild.
Way too many.
Yeah. And that's what he's after. What is in all of these different...
Yeah, he wants transparency.
Yes.
Right? For far too long, these groups have everyone's just assumed, FDA has my best interests at heart, right? Big pharma, like they saved everyone from polio and measles, so they must be good, right? Well, why do you have 72 vaccines then?
Yeah.
Like, okay, we're all allowed to question that, specifically after COVID. Fauci, gain of function, all these other things. We're allowed to question big pharma. We're allowed to say, you guys don't get a free pass and do whatever you want just because maybe you did something good 60 years ago.
Well, and I think that's arguably the biggest thing that Elon has done. Having X means that we can question stuff. Correct. You don't just get lambasted about it.
Use the internet for the best of why we had it, which was to go through and have free speech flow everywhere with it on not being restricted. Even if I don't like what someone's saying, they still have the right.
Well, that's what someone said this. You don't have freedom of speech for the speech that you like. You have freedom of speech for the stuff that you don't like.
Correct. Yes.
Which is that's a huge differentiating factor there. But that is true. That is true. You need to hear all sides of the argument, not just the stuff that you want to hear or you think is right. Because there's a lot of people that have been wrong. That's what we're learning right now.
That's right.
So what's the biggest thing that you're most excited about right now?
Oof. So like in the state of Utah, I'm excited that instead of the feds being our biggest enemy and fighting them on all of our legislation and what we want to do, not having to worry about that. We can focus on Utah. without them saying, you can't do this, you can't do that, you shouldn't do this, you're restricted here. Like, we can actually implement our own policy. And that's what I'm excited for about Utah. Federally, man, I just think the bureaucracies and the waste and it's just the big fat, government sucking taxpayer dollar is going to get an overhaul. That's good for everyone. I mean, we are so far in debt. The only way we're getting out of it is with something unique. And let's start by cutting and slashing millions of these just wasted jobs. Let's start by shrinking government, cutting regulation. That's another thing too, is one of the biggest reasons why the economy was thriving under Trump's first administration was he cut regulation, he cut red tape.
Mm-hmm.
We don't talk about that enough. Well, what's going to happen this time when he cuts red tape, slashes spending for the first time? I think they'll actually cut spending. Then also implements new ideas on ways to grow like it's just a combination of all these things now, things that we know work plus new ideas. I'm pumped for that. I'm pumped to finally see the debt potentially go down,
which would be absolutely incredible. I'm also super excited just for the scoreboard that Elon and Vivek are going to have.
Oh my goodness.
Did you hear the announcement for that? He's going to have the leaderboard for the most outrageous thing that they're going to cut, and then the highest, he's going to have it up on a website somewhere. Great. Absolutely fantastic. Could not be more excited about that.
Cut all that stupid stuff they do, like studying why potentially monkeys are lesbians or what, like stupid things that our government funds. Like,
what was the last one? I think Elon tweeted out somewhere in Africa, they were going to study if seatbelts and helmets were effective and saved lives. I think at this point we could all just say blanket yes, that'll work.
Someone got that written into a bill for a paycheck.
Yeah.
It's like that's the stuff that we need. So, okay, here's another overhaul that's going to happen. So, I am pumped for Project 2025.
What?
Project 2025 isn't what a lot of people think it is, but what it really is going to do is clean out interns and staff who have been in there forever and been just monopolized by the Democrats and the left. Project 2025 is to help clean all of that up and put conservatives in there, who's writing the bills, who's staffing and advising the political leaders that you have who are elected. That's what Project 2025 is going to do.
Really?
It's been a plan forever, too. I mean, they've really thought about this for a long time. In fact, even here in Utah, it's a problem that we have. Our interns that we get come all from the universities. And 80% of them want a liberal Democrat legislator to work with because 80% of them are liberal. Well, that's a problem because they do a lot of work. They answer emails. They help you with presentations, bills, but they don't actually agree with you or believe what you're doing. It's hard to get that cohesiveness and working together. And in DC, it's 10 times worse. So
that makes sense. I mean, Washington, DC is 98%.
Oh, it's a mess.
Democrat. So everybody that lives there, which means all the staffers and down to the janitor, and they're all voting deep.
They all come from these higher education, higher institutes of learning, and they all skew and lean left. And, we need conservative young minds in there helping and working for them so they're not undermining the agenda and what we're trying to do. That's a big reason I'm excited for Project 2025. They spun it into being this thing that just wasn't what it was, and Trump had to distance himself, but really, it's completely aligned with what we should want as conservatives and as Americans for our country.
Interesting. I guess I haven't read enough of it to give an opinion one way or the other. So you're saying the backbone of it is to get rid of all the...
Yeah, it's about cleansing the staff.
Well, okay, then if that's what it is...
that hurt Trump so much in 2016. It was all Obama staff still. He just kept them all on board. Didn't do anything.
Well, you can clearly tell he's learned his lesson.
Yeah.
There's going to be a mass you're fired here, which I'm very much looking forward to.
It needs to happen. In fact, I don't know. Did you see that video of Kamala headed back to the White House for the first time since losing, and all this staff was just covering the steps, cheering for her and going crazy. And I'm like,
there it is.
That's who all needs to get fired.
But I'll tell you something that I'm really excited about. I really think that out of this election, the culture shifted. You don't have people that are going to be afraid now to say, I voted for Trump.
No. In fact, he won margins in every category with women, but the biggest one was with the younger generation.
Yeah.
And, he did all the right things to make it cool, whether it was Joe Rogan, whether it was, the Nelk boys, UFC fights. He was really becoming culturally cool. Kind of like Obama was when we were younger. Obama, everyone thought he was cool. Trump 10 times that. And man, the strides he made to become culturally cool is a game changer.
Well, he made it into being a conservative is now the rebel cause.
Yeah.
You know, it's the
also,
bad boy thing to do.
And they've since polled a lot of these younger people who voted for Trump, and they've said, we just want America to be normal again.
Which is crazy. Like the younger generation has had enough. They've absolutely had enough of this.
Everything's been pumped to them, you know, their whole lives. They really have had it just pumped. Like, well, I don't care about that. I don't want that. Like, I just want to be normal, right?
Also, you've got a generation coming up that they're used to looking stuff up on the internet. And they know how to operate all of this stuff. So, and they are looking into things.
The BS detector can go off a lot quicker.
Which is kind of cool.
It is
because the young kids are calling this stuff out.
Yes,
which is awesome. They're just saying. I think they said that this I don't know what generation it is, but the one coming up, the early teenagers right now, they're saying is going to be the most conservative since World War II.
Amazing,
which is awesome.
And now, if you have actually like a back to the old ways of the government doing things, like our military's not woke, you might get some patriots back in there. Like it's gonna trickle down.
Well, if you think about it, the people that like joining the military is a brouhaha. Here we go. Yeah,
it used
to be. That was like
their recruiting numbers just plummeted when they went woke. When they forced vaccines on all these guys, like they lost the alpha. They lost the fighter who would take a bullet. Right. When it was more about, the military of being gay or, so you could transition your gender. Like, what the heck does that have to do anything with the military?
Well, and the crazy part to me is I don't know that they had recruiting problems when they were running the Rambo ads. No. They would put it out there. Why did they do it?
And a lot of it was generational, right? Like if your granddaddy served and your dad served, then you would probably serve. That was cutting off big time.
I understand that. But if you are a red-blooded male in any way, shape, or form, and they used to run I remember the one it was this like Navy, but it was SWCC, right? And SWCC has, from an aesthetic perspective, they've got the coolest job of all. The boats that go and pick up the SEALs.
Yep.
Right? So they go in and they just start, it's all machine guns and blowing stuff up and boom, numbers go up. You couldn't watch it without getting goosebumps and like, yeah, I want to do that,
No, not anymore. Now it was, take your pride flag and go wave in a parade. And, like it went away from that though. Like if you were a masculine, high, T-male, why on earth would you go into the military?
No, it doesn't make any sense. Not right now.
When they teach you you're inherently, racist, you're bad, patriarchy's bad. Like why on earth would you do that? And so, yeah, now if we can get rid of that, let's get back to the younger generation who are proud to be Americans, more rebel cause, like, let's get them back in there.
Well, they used to recruit them by saying, hey, you're going to blow stuff up and we're going to shoot off a lot of guns.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm in. Let's do it.
They have
easiest marketing of all time.
But you don't want to do that.
Well, I don't know. They are.
No, we do. We do though. But that's what I'm saying is that was just their mindset for so long was, oh, no, we don't do that. Like we want to be nice.
The one concession I could see the military wanting to make would be to recruit gamers. Just because of where the military is going.
And they've had to, right? I mean, the wars of, in-person combat are over. It's drones, right? Programming, it's sitting inside a cubicle in Vegas, manning something that's all over in, the Middle East somewhere or something like that. Like that's the way we fight now. So yeah, if you can get a lot of these gamers over who
know how to do this stuff.
Yeah.
Like there's 13-year-old kids who are better with drones than any adult you're going to go find.
That's right.
Which is kind of,
it's a cool way to think. It's a new way of doing things.
Wow. This is such the cool part is, and I'm not the only one that feels this way. Ever since the election, it just feels like the country's taken this big sigh of relief.
Yeah. In fact, what I compare it to is we just prolonged the second coming by about at least 12 years, right?
It sounds about right. Yeah.
Around there. And here's what I also like too, though, Toph, is like we are seeing Democrats not changing their messaging that just lost them an election in a landslide, right? We're seeing them continue to do the same things that are pushing people away, that are polarizing, that are non-common sense. Like they keep doing it. Okay, keep it up. The more they do that, the more that we keep gaining the common sense people, the young kids. Women see that like, you know what? Like, I don't know. Like I may like my choice for my body, but I'm not cool with like killing a baby. You know what I'm saying? Like their messaging is still the same. They're still pushing it. It didn't work. Keep it going.
Yeah.
The more you guys do that, the more we're going to keep winning. And that's why I'm excited because this isn't just a win now. Once these policies and these implementations go into effect and it just starts just blowing up in a good way, Well, you'll get more people on board. And who wants to go away from success and prosperity?
No, again, I've said this numerous times, not the only one that said it, but green is really the only color that matters, right? And if Trump and Elon and these guys can actually come in and your average American can afford food and gas and buying a house, right? The country is going to follow that. And then what they're also going to do is they're going to start releasing information about this.
That's another thing too.
Part of what Elon's doing is he's also exposing the corruption in the government by doing this audit. Okay, like we've spent how much on bicycles and helmets in Africa? No, come on. It's like $1.4 million or something like that.
Yeah, it's all. I mean, just corrupt waste, and it's not what the founding fathers intended at all. But
the other thing, I genuinely believe this: that it's not the document, right? It's not the Constitution. It's not our systems. It's not any of that. It's just gotten so log jammed with people that this is really how you fix it. We don't need to do an overhaul on the structure of the United States.
No, the structure's fine.
It's just fine. We need to get the people out of here and put a new batch in. And if you could almost solidify all of this by making sure that term limits go in.
Yeah. All it took was getting a billionaire who didn't care and couldn't be bought off to implement this plan.
Right. And providing information.
That's been the problem, right? And then you get more people that are on board with that agenda and put in place, then that's how you completely overhaul the system.
It's so exciting. It
is.
Can't even help it. Like
it almost, honestly, too, it almost makes me glad we lost in 2020.
I don't know that you would have had the same.
No. The effect has been astronomically better. In fact, we've learned a lot more. More corruption played their hands, right? Like we understand where they're at. And heck, Trump's generally a good man and he's nice. But man, you go after him for 4 years to try to put him in prison and illegally put witch hunts on him and all these other things. And you just pissed off a good man who now gives two craps and doesn't care to work with you. He's just going to do the right thing. We didn't have that.
No, and he gets to hire Matt Gaetz now, and good luck with that one.
There we go. which I do think Matt will get through.
I'm
certainly excited for these hearings because he will thrive.
He's got to keep it under wraps, be normal, get through it, then go after it. Go have fun.
He's fine. He can be honest up front. What it's going to do is if certain senators don't confirm him, it's going to expose them.
Well, this is the year
good.
Of
right. So this it's a good thing, and I think that he's going to have too many good answers for them in these hearings.
Who has been excited? I'm excited to watch these Senate hearings. Who's he rolling out tomorrow? It's actually a ton of fun to watch this.
It's so cool. We were so depressed and down in the dumps for 4 years. Yeah.
Well, and you always had.
I have hope, man. I have hope. I'm glad that there was enough people. In fact, the majority. Because we won the popular vote to see through all this garbage.
Well, and like you said, it's going to be interesting to see who learns because the legacy media hasn't learned anything.
Yeah, good. They're having mass layoffs right now, and so be it. In fact, X has its highest amount of traffic it's ever had. It's just kind of going through the roof right now.
My mother came to me literally yesterday, okay? And we're talking like there's no tech savvy whatsoever. My mother came to me and said, "Hey, I need to be on Elon's app." I said, "Why? What are you trying to do?" She goes, "Well, I think that this is where the news comes from." I said, "Good for you. Hand that over here.
Let's get you going.
Let's get you going on this." Lined her up with a bunch of stuff. I said, "Get through this and call me when you need more."
Yeah, we're going to make your profile Antifa Slayer.
Yeah. Trump. Oh, man. I'm sure she's got an outfit to go with it. So, yeah. But the point of that is like there is actual people like that wouldn't be a part of Twitter that are not, that are going, hold on, this is part of changing the culture.
I think kind of a wake-up call for a lot of these people who, and I'm not saying like your mom's those people, but it's just your average, every mainstream American who maybe turns on NBC News at night, watches the local news. I think they're realizing and waking up more and more that I don't know if what they're saying, like I don't know if I resonate with that, or I don't know. I just was told that, Trump was this and that, and it didn't happen. And so I think they're kind of second guessing where they're getting their information. And the younger generations are helping because for good and mostly bad, our older generations are listening to the younger generations.
Listen, it's got to start somewhere. And at the very least, if you get onto platforms that do have free speech, that are trying to put the real news out there, and by all accounts, I mean, to come out and say that Trump was losing Iowa by 19 points, what kind of trust do you think your viewership is going to have after that?
I mean, that person should never be allowed to do a poll again with any credibility whatsoever.
But it wasn't just them. It was the news stations that were also pushing that.
Oh, yeah. In fact, see, that's what's so, and here's just side note, in Florida on the election, when they called Iowa, the cheers were so loud because we're just like, yes.
Which also, if you've been to Iowa in any way, shape, or form, you know, like there's no way. 19 points?
Yep.
No way.
Yep. And you can call them on their BS. I mean, if you kept watching the news, like how they justified, I don't know. But on X, it was just blasting them of, okay, see how dumb you guys are? See how out of touch you are with average everyday Americans? Like, okay.
Well, this is and we'll
my mom, and we'll remind them of their stupidity too, is what we do now. Because on a free speech platform, we can bring that stuff up. Hey, remember when you guys said Trump was going to lose Iowa?
Yeah.
Whatever happened to that? How are you so off? What else are you guys wrong about now too? Oh, let's go find it and let's put it out here because this is a platform where we can interact with free speech,
which is pretty freaking cool.
Yeah.
You gotta love this. Like Elon, he's one of my heroes, man. He's out to help save the world.
Yes,
everything he's doing is just that.
He's Batman.
He's Iron Man, but
Iron Man. There you go.
Because I have expected, the reason I asked you, like, what happened when he walked in? I would totally expect him to do the Tony Stark thing. He's got this tracker in his own data, and he just kind of walks in. That screen right there.
He is exactly what we needed.
Yeah.
I mean, when he bought X, or Twitter at the time, I mean, it was considered a very stupid purchase. It was way overpriced. $44 billion. No, it's not worth that much. But he didn't do it for that. He did it because he wanted to save our country.
Save the world.
And he was tired of governmental overreach, suppression of free speech, shadow banning, collusion with these federal agencies. I mean, he was sick and tired of it. And you heard about some of the stuff they were going after him for, right? Like, your company, you're a defense company that does contracts with your SpaceX, so you're not allowed to hire immigrants or those who aren't citizens, but we're also going to go after you because you're not hiring immigrants.
Oh yeah, that was
like stupid stuff like that. And he's just like, what on earth? Like, it's a lose-lose for me, and they're coming after me with full force for this, and they know it. I just don't think back to the X and Twitter. I don't think he cared. I don't think it was about money or anything. No, if he lost that $44 billion and it saved free speech, he'd be okay with it. He got red-pilled. And it's somewhere along the line, whether it was Jordan Peterson, whether it was Senator Mike Lee, whether it was any of his good friends, he just started, I think, clicking. Because, Elon, even like Joe Rogan, have been Democrats their whole lives. What happened to push them over? It was the insanity on the left, and it was somebody, telling them on the right that, hey, what you're doing, like, this is the problem. Here's what's going on here. Did you know that on the right, we don't believe that, or we're not going to do this to you, or we're not going to suppress your free speech? And it just little by little.
Well, and I think he had a big domino that happened with his son.
And he's talked about that.
Yeah.
How hard would that be? Especially for a man who understands and gets it.
Well, and then his logic brain kicks in, right? Which is, I assume he lives there all the time anyway. And then he starts looking around and going, wait a minute. Hold on.
How did this happen?
Yeah. Either way, man, I'm so happy he's on our side.
Oh, we wouldn't have done it without him.
No, nothing would have happened without him.
Nope.
And I hope he keeps going. I hope this government efficiency thing is one. I cannot wait for the Twitter feed that he's got lined up for it. But I hope it works. I hope it works. I hope that I truly, and I believe that this is the path that's going to happen here.
I think so too.
I think it's actually time. I think the country is ready for it. Even the Democrats, like, they're not fighting back. That one of the most interesting things to me that came out of the election, they won, but also nobody fought back. There wasn't anything to really argue about, but they didn't even try.
I think because they got beat so bad, right? And that's why they don't know what to do right now. They're kind of in chaos. Like if you were to say, hey, give me a prominent rising star in the Democrat Party.
I don't know who they're going to run.
I don't either. And I'm Michelle Obama. I mean, Barack went all out for Kamala. So I don't know. I don't think they have one.
Well, it would have been.
Is it Governor Shapiro of Pennsylvania? Is it Senator Wiley of Arizona? Like, no, none of them will have the effect.
They keep throwing this Shapiro guy around. I don't know what his face looks like. They say that we've got this star. And I've never heard of him.
I mean, I've heard potentially like The Rock, but you know what though? He would get creamed in a debate.
Oh yeah, The Rock. Come on.
He may be liked, but he's not a marketer like Trump, and he's not going to be able to go toe to toe with JD Vance on the issues, specifically if they're working right. Why would everyone move to The Rock if everything's fine?
I don't think they will.
That's right.
I really don't. I really think that they've got an opportunity to set this up. It's a 12-year run if they do this right.
If we play our cards right and beyond, if we do this correctly, but we have to do what we said we were going to do.
But also within the next probably 4 years, half the problem is going to die. Literally going to die. McConnell's out. Pelosi's on her way out. Like there is a changing of the guard here. And if they nip it in the bud with term limits, it might just continue forward.
Yeah, we'll have to see. The question is do we have the numbers now to implement the agenda?
Well, that's what we're going to find out, huh?
Yeah.
That's why it's the show.
It's the wild ride we're going to have.
But I have hope.
Yeah, me too.
I really do. For the first time in a very long time, I have a lot of hope.
Yeah.
And I hope a lot of these people get confirmed. I hope that the plan goes on accordingly. I don't think the Democrats have anything, and I think they've gotten exposed. And then especially with what the election happened, or with what happened with the election, and then people's pocketbooks start getting a little fatter. Now we're on to something.
Interest rates drop, debt goes down, inflation goes down, taxes get cut, jobs come back, manufacturing comes back, border gets sealed. I mean, we can do all these things.
Sure, start selling oil.
That's right. Stop giving money to Ukraine.
Yeah, in the wars.
They're all going to end already. They've already announced they're going to end.
I don't know.
Is it a coincidence that Hamas is like, hey, let's talk?
Within a week.
That's right.
Within a week.
Is it a coincidence that Putin called?
Zelensky, all of them. She is calling.
For the guy who's going to start World War III, that's crazy that he hasn't had any wars.
It's truly like mom and dad, or dad is back in town.
Uh-huh.
He just got home.
Uh-oh.
Everybody hurry and pick up. We're sorry. We're sorry. We didn't want to do that. We're sorry. We'll make it better now.
That's right.
We want to negotiate now.
Yeah, it's going to be 9-day difference.
It's so cool, man.
And you know what? It's in the media. And here's the thing, because they haven't learned their lesson, you're going to see, like, for example, as they start deporting illegals, the news is going to show families being separated, and they're going to spin this and spin that. And, you know, it might be a little painful to watch at first for a lot of people, individuals out there. Like, I think they're going to see and be like, I don't know, it doesn't look too good. But you won't be able to question the end game and the results when it's done.
Well, make a couple of bold predictions for us. What comes next? What's happening now?
So I think that you're going to see what Trump is doing at the federal level. You're going to see the Republican Party across the country start to mimic that. It's completely shifted. I think you'll see state by state, they're going to fix the Republican Party, right? I think that's going to be a big part of the agenda moving forward for the next 4 years, is to set us up. Because look, I think we'll be fine with the presidency. We need to fix some of these House and Senate races. And the fixing happens when we have our primaries, when we pick our candidates, the vetting process to make sure we get good people in those races. I mean, think about it. How is it that Texas gets Cornyn in?
That's a great question. I have no idea. Yeah.
Right. That's got to be fixed. Because otherwise we cannot implement the agenda if we are fighting ourselves, which is what happened in 2016 to 2018. We had the House, we had the Senate, but they fought Trump on everything he was doing. he's solidified the group around him, right, at the national level. So those people are fine. He's not going to have the leaks. He's not going to have the overturn of the staff like it was before. That part is golden. So now, how does he get that agenda to the House and the Senate? Well, it's in the races. It's in 2026, right? We need to retain those, because if we lose the majority of either of those, then there goes the ability to do whatever we want. So I think that that's something we'll see a big push on. You're going to see a lot of help. In fact, I would really hope, and we're going to push for like Trump to have a rally out here, like a victory tour.
Yeah.
He needs to do a victory tour in the states that he couldn't spend a lot of time in. He needs to go to Wyoming. He needs to go to Utah.
He should.
He needs to go to Idaho. He needs to go to these red states and fill stadiums and show some love to these people. Say, hey, you're not unnoticed. And I think you see that. You will. Trump's smart. He understands the marketing side. He knows how to do that stuff better than anyone. That's going to be something I think we'll see. I think that if you want to get my own prediction on stuff, I think that it might be a little rough for the first year. Democrats have left the economy in a bad place, right? And there's going to be some pain. We're going to have some pain at first, specifically if we implement these tariffs.
Mm-hmm. Well, you got to give a little pass for everything to shift out.
Yep. Reagan, same thing with Reagan when he got in. 81 was rough. 82 was rough. But once things started rolling in 83, 84, it was so good. Landslide, 49 out of 50 state victory, right? So yeah, just expect some pain, I think, initially. Don't expect all the appointments to get in, which is going to be upsetting. It's going to piss a lot of people off. But then hopefully they channel that into crazy good primaries for the agenda in 2026.
In the same breath that I'm hearing you say that, technology has made stuff move a lot faster. And the people that he has brought on, they're a lot of private sector people.
Oh, I love it.
That know how to get stuff done. Maybe it doesn't have to be.
Pull outsiders in who aren't part of the bureaucracy, right? Not yes men.
Yeah.
That's what we need. And the bureaucracy in there, those who are currently politicians who've been in for a long time, are going to do everything in their power to stop it because they're gay men. So think about this too. A lot of big donors to Trump's campaign do not want mass deportation.
What?
Well, think about it. Let's say you're in the hotel industry.
Oh yeah, cheaper.
You don't want that. Think about the farming.
Yeah.
Think about the home building industry. A lot of these big, typically, owners who are conservative, like Trump, want the deregulation, but they want the cheap labor. And that's why the Koch brothers were always so against Trump, because they wanted the cheap labor. So we're going to fight that, and that'll be interesting to see what happens. That's why he can't get a lot of those big checks stroked to his campaign from these huge industries, because they want things that aren't good for our country and the people, that only benefit their business, right? So how are we going to be able to get around that? Well, he's going to have to offset it by deregulating, cutting taxes, giving them other places that they can flourish. That say, hey, when you do cheap labor, you only hurt everyone around you. You drive wages down, it's not good. So I expect we're going to fully see a lot of pushback on some of those things that he's campaigned on, and he is serious. He will do it. But it'll be interesting to see a lot of Republicans fight him on that. And when I say Republicans, I mean, look at those establishment senators who don't confirm some of these people. Look at who their donors are. Look at who's paying them. That's something I predict we're going to see is a fight there.
Well, I would imagine you're right. There's got to be pushback to it. But I also think it's too bad the average person couldn't have an actual voice in any of this, If you were to somehow straw poll everybody around, I think the country's pretty much made up its mind on this.
Yeah. No, that's fine. I think where the average American needs to get involved is more like the local stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, once again, how is it that Carrie Lake loses in Arizona and Trump has 130,000 more votes than her? Was there really that many people down there who just didn't like Trump, or didn't like Carrie Lake but would vote for Trump? I don't know. But you keep going down the levels and it gets worse and worse, right? Where people care.
Yeah.
But that's what means the most right now. It's like stay in your booth. Don't just vote for the top of the ticket and leave. Like, get involved. Go to your school board meetings. Go go look at your municipality stuff. Because, we have a housing shortage right now, and you're going to see a lot of cities try to push some ridiculous policies on us. But those are the least attended elections of all the municipalities. People need to get involved at the local level.
Well, you may not have to worry about the school board meetings, though. That might be...
School board's looking good. Utah, we flipped a lot of seats,
which
is fantastic. And I say flip, I mean, we went from establishment to conservative, which is great.
We'll see where it goes, man. What do you think of Thune? Is that I say that right?
Yeah, I haven't liked him. I wasn't happy, but he just came out and pledged that he's full force all in on Trump. Him and Trump met at Mar-a-Lago about a month ago. Supposedly buried the hatchet. Yeah, it is what it is. There was never going to be a Mike Lee or a Rand Paul who was going to get in. There's too many squishies in the Senate that they wouldn't get the numbers. Obviously, Rick Scott can only pull 13 votes.
Yeah.
So I'm optimistic. I hope he sees the writing on the wall, that it's not the way things used to be. He's either got to go along with Trump's agenda or the Trump movement will go break all hell loose on him, right? Like that's what we need to see. And if they're smart, they'll do it. They should have nothing to fear at this point. The people are backing the agenda, not them anymore. So
it's exciting, dude.
Yeah, it's good
super
times.
Exciting. This is awesome. Well, Trevor, listen, man, I would like to, I know we've talked about this a little bit more, maybe let the viewership in on this. I would like to do like a regular checkup on politics with you. And we can
let's do it
once a month or something like that. So it's always so much fun. I purposely waited not to hear any of this so we could do it on the podcast. But I love hearing these stories, man. This is awesome. And I really appreciate everything that you're doing and making these changes happen. I know it's a small part that you play, but it is a part and it's really cool. So thank you very much.
Do what I can. Thanks.
This is awesome. Ladies and gentlemen, if you enjoyed this podcast, you know the drill. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. We'll catch you in the next one. Goodbye.